the message I never sent. I remember the exact day I wrote for it. I was sitting in my small, dimly lit room, my phone clutched so tightly my knuckles were white. I had just typed out a message I'd been rehearsing in my mind for weeks. The words were simple yet heavy. Baby, I can't stop thinking about you. I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. And then I stopped. I didn't press send. I never did. Because somewhere deep inside, I was scared. Scared of rejection, scared of exposure, scared of ruining what little connection we had. But the truth is, that message wasn't just about love, it was a confession. A confession of loneliness, of fear, of longing that I had hidden from the world, even from myself. I had always been good at hiding my feelings. People saw me as confident, casual, maybe even a little detached. But they didn't see the nights I spent awake, scrolling through old conversations, analyzing every word, every pause, every emoji for meaning. And she she had become my obsession, my private escape from reality. Not because she was perfect, far from it, but because she was real. She didn't demand, she didn't expect, she just existed in my life in small, fleeting ways, and those were enough to haunt. The message remained unsent, but I wrote it over and over, each version more honest, more desperate, more raw than the last. I told her everything I didn't dare speak aloud, my fears, my regrets, my brokenness, the parts of me I hid behind smiles. I realized something painful. I was addicted to the idea of confession without um, consequence, because sending it would change everything. And maybe I wasn't ready to risk that change. So I kept it private. Just me, the message, and the quiet ache in my chest. The weight of words. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Every time I thought of sending the message, my heart would race. Every time I held my phone, the words seemed to scream at me, say it, just say. But I didn't. Instead, I wrote in my notebook. I wrote on scraps of paper. I wrote in my journal. Each confession, each honest thought was a small act of courage. Not for her, not for anyone, but for me. I started noticing patterns. I had been living my life for everyone else, my family, my friends, my colleagues, always performing, always pretending. But with this message, I was performing for no one. I wrote, "Baby, I feel alive only when I imagine you reading this. I know it's selfish, but it's true." The weight of words grew heavier each day, not because of what they contained, but because of what they revealed. My vulnerability, my insecurities, my dependency on someone else for validation. And yet, despite the heaviness, I felt freer. I was confronting truths I had hidden for years. I was admitting my feelings to myself without judgment. One night, after a particularly exhausting day, I reread all my unsent messages. I realized something. I was in love with the version of her I created in my mind, not necessarily the real person. It was a painful truth, but liberating at the same time. I stopped trying to craft the perfect message. I stopped worrying about what she might think. I just wrote. And in that writing, in that confession, I found clarity. Confession isn't about being heard, it's about being honest with yourself first, finally sending it to myself. Months later, I did something unexpected. I didn't send a message to her, I sent it to myself. I copied all my unsent messages into a single document, a private confession, and read it aloud. Every word I had hidden, every fear I had buried, every longing I had ignored, all spoken into the emptiness of my own room. I cried, I laughed, I shook, I felt it was strange, this act of confession without audience. No one was judging me, no one was rejecting me, no one could misunderstand me. It was just me finally acknowledging my own heart. And in that moment, I realized I didn't need to send a message to her. I didn't need validation from anyone. I didn't need anyone to fix me. I only needed myself. The message changed nothing externally, but internally, everything shifted. I began to confront other confessions in my life. I admitted my fears to friends. I reached out to family. I accepted my own mistakes. I stopped pretending to be someone I wasn't. And slowly, over time, the weight of all those unspoken words started to lift. I never stopped thinking about her. Maybe I never will. But I learned that loving someone doesn't always require expression. Sometimes it just requires honesty. First, with yourself, and that was enough. I survived the silence. I survived the longing. I survived myself. And maybe that is the bravest message I will ever send, because I was tired of pretending. Maybe because I realized no one knew me at all. I took uh, out a notebook I had hidden for years. Pages of thoughts, memories, confessions I had never spoken aloud. I started writing, not for anyone else, not for a future blog or a story, just for me. I wrote the truth, the fear, the loneliness, the exhaustion, the lies I told myself to survive, the guilt I carried for being too much or not enough. For the first time, words poured out without shame, without judgment, and I realized confession doesn't need an audience. It just needs honesty. That night, I slept without a mask, and for the first time in years, I felt a little lighter, facing the reflection the next morning. Life didn't magically change. I still had responsibilities. I still had people expecting me to be strong. I still had the same job, the same apartment, the same routines. But something shifted inside me. For years, I had avoided mirrors, not physically, but emotionally. I avoided looking at myself, really seeing myself. Now I couldn't. I stared at my reflection and whispered, "Who are you really?" No mask, no performance, just me. The answer wasn't clear. It was messy, confusing, frightening. I began small experiments, tiny confessions, tiny truths. I told a friend, "I'm struggling, can we talk?" Their response, simple, human, loving, not judgmental, not condescending, just a presence. I realized I had been afraid all these years of being human in front of others. Work became another testing ground. I stopped pretending I had all the answers. I asked for help. I admitted mistakes, and to my surprise, people didn't abandon me. They respected me. Outside, life looked the same, but inside, I was slowly dismantling the walls I had built. And then came the nights of deeper confessions. I wrote letters I never intended to send to past lovers, to estranged friends, to my younger self. I wrote apologies. I had never uh, given truths I had never spoken. Some letters were angry, some were sad, some were simply observations. Through this, I learned confession is not weakness, it is courage. I also learned that some truths are for yourself, not for anyone else. Some confessions are sacred between your soul and your own pen. And slowly, I started to understand the mask I wore was not just for others, it was for me too. I wore it to hide my own fear of being seen fully and truly. The fear of rejection, the fear of vulnerability, the fear of not being enough. I was ready to face it, choosing to stay awake. The final part of my confession is about choice, because the truth is, life will always test you. Some days, the weight of all your hidden truths threatens to crush you. Some nights, memories of abandonment, failure, and regret return like ghosts. Some mornings, you wake up and the mask feels safer than the real self. But confession, even silent, even private, teaches as you something vital. Staying awake is stronger than pretending to be asleep. I made a choice, not a dramatic, life-altering decision, not a sudden burst of courage, just a quiet, steady choice. Every day I choose to feel, I choose to speak, I choose to exist honestly. I reached out to those I had avoided, not expecting forgiveness, not expecting validation, just connection. I sought therapy. I explored emotions I had buried. I cried a lot. I laughed a lot. I wrote a lot. I realized the world doesn't owe me understanding, but I do. I owe myself honesty, and with that honesty comes a new kind of freedom.
Subscribe for daily fazza poems in English. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon for more.